And when people then, when it kind of gets to this level where you don't really know if that's human or AI, and it's just a completely fabricated, like it could be a running influencer, but it's just an AI image, like video.
You've already alluded to the fact that you went live to concerts and lifestyles. This is real people doing real stuff in real time. Does the AI content generation fit in there?
I don't think it will replace that human touch, but I think for certain, like if people just want to get away and go into fantasy, that's the opportunity there.
AI, is it hype or help? G'day and welcome to the show. I'm your host, Pete Cooper, and our topic is AI, hype or help. Today's guest is Oli Russell-Cowan. He's a brand advisor and he helped, if not instrumented, the growth of a very big brand in mountain water called Liquid Death, or Murder Your Thirst as their catchphrase is. We're going to go in deep on marketing, particularly lifestyle marketing, and how it has been affected or is affected by AI. So let's get into it. Oli, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Yeah, really good, Pete. Thanks for
Yeah,
having me on. How are
yeah,
you?
thanks for coming on. Now, where are you based? That's the number one question.
So I'm based over in Portugal, close to Lisbon, about 30 minutes away from the city in a town called Cascais.
Right. Don't know Portugal very well, but love to go there. But you're not from Portugal, are you?
I'm not, no, so I'm originally from London,
Hmm.
and yeah, I've kind of been bouncing here, there, and everywhere, but I've called Portugal home now, coming up to about 7 years.
Yeah.
And then prior to that, I was in Sydney in Australia for about 6.5 years over
Hmm.
there. And we were talking, about you
Yeah.
when you were growing up over there on sort of south coast of Sydney and
Yep.
stuff, and in and around those areas.
That was really
Yeah, so
funny. That was really funny because the name of my company is Skillion. And Skillion is a place I used to go as a kid and a teenager because there was a surfing area, which you and I have both surfed at, right? It was the Terrigal Point or the Terrigal Skillion is what I used to call it. And that's where the name for my company comes from.
yeah, nice.
Isn't that
What an
funny?
amazing place. I mean, we used to try and escape there, like we'd either go up to Avoca sort of area or we go down to Terrigal. Yeah, so my wife and I have some fond memories,
Hmm.
sort of camping out and the point there, and yeah, trying to get in and go surfing at Dorney's and first thing in the morning, and then come back and yeah, all the free like gas barbecues around the coast there. I miss that. That's for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. Just another quick segue. I didn't mention this the other day. Do you know where the name Terrigal comes from?
I don't know.
So it's an Aboriginal word for place of the birds.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, place of the birds, Terrigal.
There we go.
And for the audience, you've got to drive about an hour and a half north of Sydney, Australia to get to a beachside place where I grew up, where Ollie was surfing a few years back, and a beautiful part of the world. Definitely great for surfing. You know, there's a very famous surfer who was in the same school as me. His name is Ross Clark Jones. He actually made the international circuit, did some movies and other things like that. He was 2 years below me. But I tell you what,
No
when it
way.
came to surfing, he was many levels above me and everybody else. He was in a class of his own. Um, and just stop talking, but I can't. My mother actually worked for his father. Um, so I
Really?
kind of knew his family, yeah. And
So you
he's
must have some
famous.
good stories about him growing up. He was a bit of a
Oh,
wild man.
he was very wild. He was very wild. I don't know whether they're podcast worthy. Actually, we'll have to talk about them offline. Yeah,
Definitely.
definitely a wild man. All right, Ollie. So those little segues, very interesting, fun. Tell us what you do.
So I guess now sort of work on lifestyle marketing for brands, specifically within food and drink. And I've had a bit of a, I guess, varied career, but it all
Hmm.
sort of started off within action sports, and yeah, I guess sort of linking back to a passion with surfing.
Yeah. Food and drink. When you say lifestyle, what does that mean if I was to unpack that?
Yeah, so I guess working with cultural first brands, lifestyle brands, and what that would mean is that they're trying to tap into either a certain scene or community or lifestyle in general.
Yeah.
So that could be anything from music, for sports, health, wellness, all those kind of things.
Right.
And then what I do on the side of it is sort of credibly like integrate the brands into certain scenes and communities without paying essentially for sponsorship fees or things like that. So be
Mm.
getting the product or the service in the right hands, the right people, events and
Hmm.
venues.
Now, I'm going to show my age here, but when I think of lifestyle marketing, a few brands come to mind, but I always think of the Marlboro guy, the cowboy. Do you remember? Do you know who I'm talking
Yeah,
about?
yeah,
Yeah, so this
yeah.
guy was the quintessential cowboy, and he would smoke Marlboro cigarettes. And so that brand became a very successful marketing campaign. Where is that a lifestyle? Is that cowboy the lifestyle that they're selling, that they're marketing to?
I think for that, I'd sort of look at that and go, it's sort of like back then, like the aspiration of cool of the cowboy and that kind of when I guess westerns were massive and
Mm.
Eastward and things like that, like
Oh yeah,
that's
tapping
what I
into.
think about and like that sort
Hmm.
of Americana sort of aspect of it. Um,
Yeah.
it's almost I guess I would sort of think like you could chuck like Levi's in that as well, sort of that kind of approach. I guess now it's sort of more I guess more sort of put like passion or participant led.
Oh,
So
okay.
to give you, I mean, and we can go into the liquid death stuff
Yeah,
in a bit,
let's do
but
that. Yep.
yeah, I mean that was sort of like looking at brands that are then they're already part of a scene or the people the founder or the people that work within the company within the brand they may be into tennis or now say paddle or their yoga instructors whatever it may be they belong to a community and
Mm.
it's sort of like it's those brands that sort of have this lifestyle that then just sort of naturally integrates with what people are interested in and what they do, who
Mm.
their community is are, what
Mm.
scenes they're at, where they go for coffee, which sort of restaurants, bars they go to, maybe it is around a particular area, but it wouldn't necessarily be led by demographics. It's more psychographics. So
Okay.
yeah, the age thing is sort of, I guess, not 100% relevant. It's more down to these sort of subsectors and subcultures.
Well, we touched on mountain biking the other day and biking.
Hmm.
I actually started my mountain biking back in the UK. I would always been into bikes, motorbikes, everything, and still built my own brand, Skillion bikes as well, e-bike brand. I can see a lifestyle here where you have your bike, you ride your bike around New York City, and then you maybe go mountain biking or you go cross country biking.
Hmm.
Are we touching on the lifestyle here?
100%.
Okay.
Yeah. So for that, I mean, that's sort of like it's just something like all these different areas. Say for mountain biking, like there's a massive scene where I am in a place called Sintra. There's also a big mountain biking scene in the city, like right in Lisbon. There's a big park there
Right.
with like some amazing trails.
Yep.
So that is whether, brands like Fox, or yeah, when you're kind of like thinking of different biking brands or like whether that's hardware, apparel,
Mm.
they kind of they're a part of that lifestyle and they're part of that scene because the people that are building those brands they mountain bike. So
Yeah,
yeah.
100%. And that you see that so much in the way they market. They market that lifestyle. They show somebody, jumping or going down a trail or, out in this beautiful wilderness scene. Not necessarily, I mean, Tram might be one of those, I call them cogs and gears kind of company. They're more
Yeah.
than that, but they're gonna show the lifestyle, not necessarily the specs of the cogs and gears, but in a way you drive them to that through the lifestyle marketing, you drive them to understanding the value of the cogs and chains and the specs
Mhm.
associated with that. And so okay, I think I understand what lifestyle marketing is.
It's basically, yeah, if you're passionate about something, it could be gaming, it could be like,
Mm,
certain type of like genre of podcasts, and like you're interested in that, like crime thrillers, whatever
mm.
it may be. It's
Yeah, yeah.
then it's really kind of drilling it down, and like I sort of find them like the niche you go, like the stronger the community is normally.
Oh, interesting. Well, liquid death. Tell us what liquid death is. If you don't, if anybody
Yeah.
doesn't know.
So they are a canned beverage company based out of California, out of
Mhm,
Santa Monica, Venice.
mhm.
They started just before COVID, and they started as a water brand. So the idea
Oh.
was it was going to be uh, a canned water that looked like a beer. And Mike Cesario, the founder, came up with the idea of like, okay, well, what's the craziest thing that we can call this? And Liquid Death popped up, and they ran with it, and it was sort of yeah. Uh, I guess the original story is that he was at a Vans Warped Tour punk rock festival, and people backstage were pouring out cans of Monster, and well, like the
Mm.
artist, it was 35 degrees, super hot, and yeah, so 35 degrees centigrade. So yeah, pretty warm in Fahrenheit. And they were kind of like,
90 plus,
yeah,
yeah.
basically pouring out these energy drinks. They're not going to be sort of taking one after another of those things during the day. And they were mixing it with they were just basically using this water, like tool water, like tap water. So he thought, okay, like if all these musicians and artists are taking it on stage, people think it's Monster Energy. There could be something in this. And then years later, that sort of was, I guess, the birth of Liquid Death, or the idea behind it. And
Mm.
then it was kind of just doing something a little bit differently, specifically around marketing. I mean, Mike and some of the initial core team had a background in advertising and creative, and it was sort of looking at what would, like, essentially what's going to break the internet, what's going to garner attention, because everyone's competing for the same space. If people are just scrolling on their phone or
Oh,
on their
yep,
desktop,
yep.
it just even to kind of pop up is one thing, let alone getting people to stop in their tracks. So they were thinking, okay, like if we build it around making it entertaining,
Mm.
rather
Mm.
than being being marketing, then people will engage with it, and they'll tune in. And then that's one thing that they go, okay, if we're going to make it entertaining, let's lean heavy on humor and on comedy. And that's what they did.
Oh, right. Totally get
So
it.
it's kind of got this notion that it's like this heavy metal punk rock brand of water, but the whole thing was sort of a bit tongue in cheek.
Yeah, right. They
Yeah,
they just sort of
like
don't naturally go together. You don't think of a punk rocker ever drinking water. You think,
no,
he's going to be.
they got to. I mean, like we've got to. So, you got
Yeah.
to. Yeah, it's not just beer. You got to stay hydrated as well. So,
No, no, no. That's just not punk at all, right?
but it was one of those things where I think it got accepted within the scene. Like when I started, I was heading up their lifestyle marketing for international. So everywhere outside of the US was kind of sort of responsible for getting it in the right places and into the right hands. And we were doing a lot with concerts and with music festivals. And in that situation, it just naturally fitted in, where
Mm.
you could stand by a bar, and instead of holding like a crappy bottle of plastic water, or
Oh,
asking for one behind the bar, you could order a Liquid Death, and it sort of looks like a craft beer. And
yeah.
then it's got a skull on it, like the whole sort of aesthetic of the logo and the branding, and
Got it. Yeah.
the writing on the can. It's just sort of it just was part of that scene. And then I guess behind the scenes, the people that were involved in it, it was some of the investors were bands like Metallica, and they did like collaborations and projects with Ozzy Osbourne when he was alive, and people that like worked in the company were part of the industry as well.
Mm.
So it kind of fitted in that when they did something, they could just like they could reach out to their contacts, their friends, whether that was like professional skateboarders or these sort of like these I guess subcultures which were just naturally fitted because the people and the employees and the founder they were part of that anyway.
Nice. Wow. So you got propelled, really. I mean, I go to the supermarket and grab myself some plastic bottles. I don't even remember. I think Mount Franklin might be one of the names that stands out, but there's half a dozen of them. Invita, I think, might be another one. But they are
Mhm.
just this indescript little bottles. They don't really have much appeal, do they? And they certainly don't look cool if you're hanging out at the bar at a punk rock show. And I mean, the whole image of the whole rock and roll image is largely how they look, right? Not necessarily the reality behind that, but how they look, right? So I can totally see how it fits. But that was a really key insight, wasn't it? I mean, you guys were obviously hanging around. You talked about the origin story, where you saw it from, and then you just ran with it. But you have to be there at the time to see it emerge. Yeah, cool. So, Ollie, what was your play in this? What was your role?
So yeah, I was, I guess, in charge of what it would be then known as like cult indoctrination for international. So what that means is that when we would launch in a new location, I'd like parachute in and try and like open up my network or like reach out to friends and contacts that I knew within different industries. So action sports, music, events, festivals. And yeah, just see if they would be keen, like essentially just to try it out. And it was the same playbook that they used in America. So it was like sending water to like action sports events, say a skateboarding competition, for example, or sending it to friends that are in bands and sending it to them for backstage for their green rooms, and then all of a sudden they're taking it on stage. They had a pretty unique line of merchandise as well, which was super fun. So it was more than the can. I mean, it's sort of like the whole
Mm, mm,
the whole brand came to life through the merch and just the different campaigns that they did. And then
mm,
that was some fun things to play with as well. So like like getting that to the right musicians and then seeing them turn up on stage in front of 80,000 people and they're wearing a pink Liquid Death sweatshirt with like a white skull logo on the front. Those kind of things were basically part of the job,
yeah, yeah,
which is a bit weird. It's
yeah,
weird to
yeah.
say now, but it was super fun, like
Oh,
doing
yeah.
that, and it's sort of like 15-year-old me. It was sort of you're like hanging out with your heroes, going to these different events and festivals. It was really fun.
Wow. Yeah, I can imagine traveling the world and, as you say, going to all these places. So the fact that it's seen, it's being recorded by, I guess, thousands of people are holding their phones up. Plus, you've got your own channels. There's so much content being generated around that one scene where he walks on with the Liquid Death t-shirt or sweatshirt. Um, that's huge. That's huge in terms of visibility, right? And then that just
Mhm.
propels you. You can say, "Oh, look, Metallica did this. Um, you want to do this too." So one thing builds on the other. Amazing. So you're still doing that, or moved on from there? What are you doing now, Ollie?
Yeah, so that kind of ran for about 18 months. They decided that they were going to focus on the US market. So the remit was then to kind of scale back international.
Mm,
So they tried it, and then sort of from like I guess a sort of strategy point of view, yeah, they had to make the US sort of work at all costs.
mm.
And then that's where like the majority, that's where it's from, that's where it's born. The majority and the traction was just there. So maybe they revisit international again one day. I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm.
So since then, I built a I was the co-founder of a branding sort of brand marketing agency, and then more recently, I've kind of set out on my own. So like choosing sort of specific projects that are more aligned into basically where I can add the most value, and that sort of leads back to that lifestyle marketing
Yep.
and the network piece. And it's sort of yeah, I mean, looking at what brands to take on is then interesting. Going that okay, well, if they need if they need a way into certain scenes, if I feel that that I can assist there, then um I can try and help. But it's there's definitely there's multiple like hundreds of thousands of different lifestyles, and a lot of them is sort of like okay, well, I don't have connections in those places,
Okay.
but I
Yeah.
know people who probably do. So then there's ways of fitting it in. But
So
yeah.
the the music scene, the heavy metal scene, that
Yeah, so sport,
sport,
action sports,
action sports.
wellness, fitness,
Mm-hmm.
music and entertainment are
Mm-hmm.
probably the sort of crossover areas. So before Liquid Death, the reason how I kind of got involved with that, I used to work within the action sports industry. I used to work for a publisher in London years and years ago, which kind of got me into it. But they used to have all the board sports magazines, so like the surfing titles, snowboarding, skateboarding, and
Mm.
yeah, I was doing all the ad sales. And then when I was in Australia, I started a events and festivals platform called Rad Season,
Oh yeah.
and
Uh-huh.
that was yeah, it kind of started off looking at okay, well, what are the main big surfing events in Australia, and then it was like an integrated platform where we linked in with we had like an affiliation with Airbnb and with booking.com, and people could basically find out where the events were around the world, or in this case
Mm-hmm.
like when we started off Australia, and then they could book them. And
Mm.
then it went to going okay, well, there's so many fun events everywhere around the world, where would I want to go to? And I kind of got a bit carried away, and I was like, oh, there's this like amazing snowboarding Munich music festival in Whistler
Mm.
up in
Mm.
Canada. Like that would be pretty fun to have on the website. And then there's Oktoberfest in Munich in Germany,
Mm-hmm.
and there's like this insane tomato festival food fight in Spain in Valencia, and so on and so on. So that basically turned into like thousands of events on Rad Season. And then when COVID happened, all the events literally, like as everyone knows, stopped overnight. You couldn't leave the house,
Mm-hmm.
and it was pretty strict in a lot of places. So I turned into doing a podcast and was like doing it live, which was pretty scary. I wouldn't say I'm a natural public speaker. I used to stutter as a kid in school. I'm dyslexic, so
Really?
it was an uphill battle.
Well, you're doing a great
Um,
job here today.
but it was yeah, I just thought like whatever, let's just do this and let's have these conversations and see how it goes.
Mm.
And off the back of that, it turned into a TV show on Fuel TV on like a cable action sports cable channel.
Yep.
But they had their office in Lisbon, and then yeah, getting the guys on, the founder of Liquid Death on really early on was kind of
Mm.
like how I got into the beverage industry, and yeah, here we are.
Well, we should hang around after the show because I've got some more things for you. But there's one thing I have to bring up, and that is a thing called Music Fest. It's here in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. And you might think, who cares? Well, how about 1,000 entertainers coming in for a 10-day period from all over the United States? Um, the town just explodes with people. It happens every year. It's called Music Fest with a K. Um, Maybe Liquid Death fits nicely with Music Fest. They have punk, they have heavy metal, they have country, they have folk, they have local, they have they had ZZ Top a few years ago. They had Steve Miller Band. I mean, this is a big deal. I didn't know anything about it until I moved here. Now it's a thing every year. I almost take it for granted. All I think about is the
Nice.
amount of traffic problems I'm going to have and parking problems I'm going to have when this town is inundated with people coming to Music Fest. So we got to talk about that offline a little bit. Right.
Nice.
So let's segue into the topic, which is AI. How is that
hmm
affecting you? Are you using it? Is it using you? Where do you see AI fitting in here?
So I use it daily,
Hmm.
like 100%. I almost sort of use it as like a sparring partner.
Yes.
And what I mean
Well
by
put.
that is sort of like if I've got an idea, I'll kind of jump into something and just dive in a bit more, try and see where it goes. But
Mm.
uh, sort of the evolution of it all, and just sort of how quickly and how advanced and just yeah, how it's been kind of using it and sort of that trajectory. I'd say it's made like a mixture between text and sort of like for creative. As I was mentioning like earlier, sort of like being dyslexic and sort of coming up with yeah just putting pen to paper I would find like pretty challenging. Now with this it's just almost an aid, but the biggest sort of warning with what a majority of people aren't doing when they're
Mm.
using it is then just
Mm.
making sure that you are going through it and make like checking for
Right.
mistakes and things like that, and like maybe it's not happening as much, but like hallucinations and
Yes.
things where it would just be like fabricating complete
Yeah.
nonsense.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it has
Um,
to say something. I got another
yeah,
another video on exactly that topic where it wants to please you, and it's very good at that, but it has to say something to
yeah,
please you, and it'll make it up if it has to.
yeah, and I think that's dangerous. So it's just, and then everyone kind of like knows if it doesn't feel real.
Right.
But yeah, like whether that's like commenting or doing posts on social media or on LinkedIn or things
Mm.
like that,
Mm.
or if you're doing outreach for sales emails, like it has to, yeah, you need like a you need a set of eyes just to like a human touch to then go through these things and sort of make sure that it
Yeah.
doesn't look ridiculous. And then I guess that kind of can go even further with we like looking at video content or images and yeah, like it's
Mm.
getting pretty sophisticated, and it is getting to that level where, people then obviously won't be able to know. But
Yeah. I mean, I use it too. I would strategically, as you said, as a sounding board or a sparring partner. And I think actually for marketing, in my opinion, it does a pretty good job of that. And I think the reason is there's a lot of marketing material out there for the models to train on, so they get
Mhm.
a pretty good sense um, about how marketing works and can point you in the right direction. I've noticed, and tell me if I'm wrong, that it does a pretty good job on marketing. It does a terrible job on some other things, like some real world stuff. I've got a short about me asking it to, do I drive the car to the car wash or do I walk? And it says walk. And I said, well, how do you get the car there if you don't drive it there? And then it kind of spars with me back and forth. Like it doesn't really have a sense of reality for something
Yeah.
that it can't see for itself, even though a human would know that was totally illogical. It doesn't have exposure to that. But marketing, I think, especially online marketing, it knows a lot about that.
I think there's sort of so much. I mean, it's just essentially just sort of scraping the internet and what's already on there. So
Yeah.
there's so much content around marketing and around sort of certain aspects of it, whether that's marketing strategy or branding, whatever it may be. But it's
Mm, mm.
it's just compiling it, and then it like the original thoughts aren't there though. So it's sort of something that yeah,
Oh, no.
it can for best practice and stuff. It can help, and it can kind of give a bit of a structure if you need assistance on a certain
Yep.
part of your work.
Yep.
But like that originality is 100% not there, and I think
No.
that's something where like I've sat in meetings knowing, say with like another agency would be in the room and they're trying to palm off work that I 100% know is like it's just AI ideas,
Yeah,
and they're
right.
and they're trying to claim them as their own.
Right.
So
That's
yeah,
interesting.
things like
What
that
what
is like,
gives it away, Ollie?
like
What gives it away when somebody's trying to do that? Do you have a sense of it, or is it just gut feel?
I think with that it's almost like you can do like a quick prompt depending on sort of what the topic is, and it will generate the same thing.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah.
then you look at it and go, okay,
Yeah.
well, those five ideas that they've come up with
I just
for a
did that here
campaign,
as well. Yeah,
it's just
exactly.
like it's not them. Um,
Yeah.
so I think stuff like that, like the actual sort of like thinking time, the creativity, the spark of like doing something that's different, the getting out of like the echo chamber of like what could be possible, and that's just sort of influences from just life and different industries. I think sometimes people would like look within what their competitors are doing a little bit too much.
Yeah. Yeah.
um
Yeah.
and then from the basis of what you're then like feeding AI, it's sort of just coming up with stuff that say other competitors have done or other brands have done,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
instead of thinking like, oh, that's what something in a completely different industry did
Yeah.
that could
So,
be tweaks and you could do a variation of that. And I'm not
right.
saying, like everything has to be like, brand new. You don't have to reinvent the wheel the whole time, but it's just like thinking a bit differently and sort of taking influence from other areas.
Yeah. I think here's an analogy that was given to me that it's a little bit like having a McKinsey. You know how McKinsey is that big consulting
Hmm.
agency. A bit like having a McKinsey partner right there. Now, a McKinsey partner is very smart, very good at helping you, very good at guiding you, but it can't tell you about your industry. That comes from you. So if I was to say, Ollie, you know, you work with the McKinsey partner, he's going to be asking you lots of questions about the industry, and then he's going to be super smart in getting it, I guess, structured for you or organized for you or helping you, getting other resources for you, and then bringing that back to you. And but it's ultimately up to you to have that knowledge and that insight from your industry.
Hmm.
How do you think about that? Do you think it works like a McKinsey partner?
Uh, I think what in terms of using it yourself as that.
Yeah. Yeah. As
Yeah,
you said, for
I
the
think
sparring
so. I
partner.
kind of
Yeah.
like, yeah, I kind of like to think of it like, if we sit down and go, say if you're having a hard time trying to prioritize what you're going to do, and
Mm,
like that
mm,
day, like you could go, okay, well, I've got like these 10 things to do,
mm,
and like having like a million tabs open and go, what is the everyone sort of everyone knows that what you should be doing is that first is the hardest thing that it kind of
mm,
just gets pushed back on the pile, and you sort of like wait till the afternoon and then don't get around to doing it, and then it just falls
mm,
over to the next day or the next
mm.
week. So
Yeah.
just kind of, yeah, going through things like that and just using it as that kind of tool. I know for what I do, like if I'm going to go into a new area, it'd be like, okay, well, how can I like effectively use it for like if I'm taking a brand to a market I don't know too well, or I don't have like
Right.
too many connections there, where should I be? Where does that brand fit in that
Right.
market?
Right.
And then what do I need to know before I kind of go out and do that?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense. So you're using, I guess, chats like ChatGPT or Claude and those
Hmm.
kind of, I always call them retail AI experiences, chats. So, but the other thing we touched on was image generation. I guess I'm going to pull that under content generation.
Yeah.
I always think this is a challenging subject because you've already alluded to the fact that you went live to concerts and lifestyles. This is real people doing real stuff in real time. Does the AI content generation fit in there?
Uh, in terms of like, I think with all of this stuff, like having AI there or just having it in the room, the whole in real life is just it has been accelerated, and then that's even
Mm,
like more important to people now, like getting out and having these experiences.
right,
But then online or like when they're on the phones and on their computers, having that capability of like creating this content, whether that's for fun or for work,
right,
it's exciting that it's there, So
right.
I
Yeah.
can't, I kind of feel it's like it's a bit of both. I don't feel that because of AI, it's like then, you know, like I guess when VR, like when there was that massive push with virtual reality, and it was like, okay, well, people are just going to be like with their Oculus on at home, and I don't know how how many billions meta wasted on all of that, thinking that yeah, this is
Yeah.
going to be the game changer and this is going to be the one, and it wasn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Well,
yeah, whether
maybe it's still coming, Ollie.
I don't know. I mean, it's getting, yeah, again, it's sort of like when you look at the glasses in comparison to like, the headsets and everything's just getting smaller
Yeah,
and more sophisticated. So
it is. And I
maybe.
mean, what's happening in Ukraine at the moment is they're all using these first-person view devices, and that where are the headsets? The headsets that they use. I mean, that's a very much a niche. It's not like everybody's using it, but I know plenty of gamers that use those VR things. Not for me. I mean, I've never been a gamer, and as soon as I step away from the computer, I try to do something that's not computer related at all.
Nice.
Like I go out to the workshop, work on my bikes or work on something. So I'm
Yeah.
someone who has a hard switch. As soon as I'm away from the computer, I'm not on the computer. So putting the goggles on wouldn't be something I would go back to. But I know plenty of people that do. They'll work all day on the computer and they'll relax by doing that, or maybe some kind of
Hmm.
taking them away. So I guess what I was thinking of going with this conversation is AI can generate an enormous amount of content. Very easily, press of a button, you can push up, images, you can create videos, um,
Hmm.
and they can create the content for you extremely cheaply, much more cheaply than parachuting Ollie into a concert and giving out. You can pretty much manufacture whatever you want to think about. Is there a place for that type of content in marketing
I
that you're
think, yeah.
working in?
Yeah. So in terms of like the rise of, say, AI influencers on
Mm,
social media is
mm,
is a thing. And when
mm,
people then when it kind of gets to this level where you don't really know if that's human or AI,
mm.
and it's just a completely fabricated, like it could be a running influencer, but it's just an AI like image, like video. That will then kind of depict like that. That's going to get more and more popular, and it also because it's just the speed of doing it, and so then the influence, and because if influencers are then if they're promoting too many products that then aren't authentic to them, people just sort of switch off and they don't really believe it, and it's like, oh, okay, it's just another ad.
Right.
In terms of in real life and in person, personally, I don't think it goes away because like AI can't replace a handshake
Mm,
and the sort of
mm.
the connection that you can then have with someone
Yeah.
when you're meeting them face to face,
Yeah.
and the
100%.
experience and how you feel in that moment,
Right.
and sort of it's not just it's just the whole sort of the sensory overload of, say, being at a concert and people wanting that even more because of what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that one of the reasons we do podcasts and we do them in this sense of, well, it's live to us. Yeah, we do edit it afterwards, but I don't know what you're going to say. You don't know what I'm going to say. Some things are going to surprise me. Some things are going to delight me or whatever. There is that
Yeah.
human emotion dynamic which comes into a real conversation, and AI can't replicate that. And I think even if it does replicate it, it doesn't land with people because it's not an authentic human being, right? You relate to another authentic human being, you don't relate to an AI instance. So the game sort of comes to me that, and I have this game too going on. I'm saying, is that AI generated? And I'm looking for the artifacts. Like it used to be the teeth was the problem, right? And now they've kind of fixed
All
that.
the extra fingers and stuff like that,
Yeah,
right?
there used
Really
to be
early on.
extra fingers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like 7 fingers on one hand. Like,
Yeah, yeah. Or teeth that are
that's
moving
not Will
around.
Smith.
And yeah, that's right. Yes, Will Smith with his spaghetti. Perfect. Perfect thing. We'll put that link in the description for that one. But I think they're overcoming all those little artifacts.
Hmm.
We're getting better at spotting at it, but it's getting better at producing it. Um, but to me, tell me if I'm wrong, to me, I think people need to know that it's a real human. When they don't want to see a replicated version of a human, that even if it's perfect in every way, they still need to know that it was a person that had that experience.
I'm not sure. I think it's sort of like when you look at like a younger audience, or if I see like an AI video or a clip, I remember like sort of like I've seen ones of like Liquid Death pop up or for different brands. I mean, maybe not the Coca-Cola one, which completely flops
Yeah.
Christmas time, but when it's something that's done really well, and there's obviously a team behind it, and they've used maybe multiple of tools.
Yes.
I think there's something in that, and I think
Okay.
that's something that is just going to get better.
Yes.
And it's the same with sort of AI and music, and
Yes.
like it's yeah. I mean, there's some tracks out there now, or like just playing around with it with friends. Like we were going to go on a boys surf trip to the Maldives, and we just created like a stupid album, or just using like AI songs with all us like included, and just things like that. And it's kind of like, then they get better, they get more and more enhanced or improved like as time goes on. So we'll do a
Mm,
new version, and then
mm.
like it's getting better.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think things like that, people will like lean into it.
Right.
uh
Right.
I don't think it will replace that human touch, but I think for certain, like if people just want to get away and go into fantasy, then that's the opportunity there.
Yeah. Gotcha. I think it comes down to the fact that were you being entertained, were you being amused
Yeah,
by it, and I
100%.
I think the way you're going makes sense now. It's now a case of, well, okay, I will accept AI generated content if it stirs some emotion in me, whether it be humor, whether it be intrigue, whether it be uh, drama. And maybe I don't care if it's AI generated or not, as long as it does that. I think, okay, so I think I can split this down and say, look, if you're trying to be an authentic human, don't try to put AI in there because I think people are going to say, I don't like the lack of integrity. But if you're creating AI
Yeah,
content which is genuinely AI generated and still really good, then there's a place for it. Yeah.
I think so. And I think it's sort of like with all these things, especially within media and with marketing, it's sort of like everyone kind of like it's like with the internet arrived,
Mm.
and
Mm.
it just the opportunities that are available. It's like that, but on steroids.
Oh yeah, isn't
Uh,
it?
yeah.
I mean, I was
So
around when the internet started. I remember a guy coming into my office at the uni. I used to work for the uni, and he said, "Oh, we've got email. It's on this thing called the internet." I said, "What's that all about?" I don't think I turned my email on for 2 years. Now, goodness gracious, I don't know anybody who is not using AI in some way. I don't know anybody.
yeah.
So if the uptake in this is just like nothing else on earth. It's so quick and it's so transformative. Ollie, we're probably running out of time here. Do you have any questions that or comments or things you'd like to talk about?
Uh, yeah, I'm curious to see like all these conversations that you're having around AI. Where are you seeing it going?
I think it's going to have the most transformative effect the world has ever seen. It's going to be the most pervasive technology, it's going to be the most disruptive. That's, I guess, a bad way of saying it, but also the most explosive change that we've ever seen, and it's going to happen faster than we've ever seen it.
Hmm.
So I was just looking around at some of my colleagues, and half a dozen of them have lost their jobs literally in the last 6 months. Now, going back 6 to 12 months before that, I knew there was a huge displacement of overseas software developers. I mean, all of these people are sort of finding, oh my goodness. Um, and we're helping companies actively, try to take advantage of AI to improve their revenues or lower their costs. I mean, what is the consequences of that? AI is doing some work that humans were doing. And that's an
Hmm.
unfortunate side effect of this. And I'll just put it out that anybody that is thinking about a career, be adaptive to this change. It's like resisting the tide. You cannot work against it. You got to try and work with it because it's
Yeah.
going to make such a huge change. Yeah. What do you think, Ollie? Where do you think it's going?
Um, I I think so. I think if you try and not fight it, but if you're sort of not, yeah, like if it's just there in the background, or you're not trying to learn what you can about it, specifically around the field that you're in, or maybe something new, then yeah, these things just like they have a habit of just moving on without you anyway. So you kind of
Exactly.
it's better to be clued up on it than not.
Exactly.
Is sort of
Exactly.
how I feel about it. But I think it's exciting. I think it definitely is making you're more productive, but
Mm.
I'd say you're doing more now. I think
Mm.
everyone kind of had this idea
Yes.
that it was sort of just going to be, oh, I just use it and then I'll be doing way less and I'll have more time to chill and relax. But
Yeah.
I think it's
Yeah.
the opposite. I think it's sort of like it can just be, yeah, it's a great tool, but it's sort of generating more sort of work if you're using it in your day to day.
Yeah, I love those, 1960s cartoons like the Jetsons, where he goes to work in his flying car. Hey, where's my flying car? I don't still don't have my flying car. And then he goes there and all he does is press a button.
Yeah.
That's all he does at work all day. That that future never came about. We just do more. We just we,
Yeah.
we have more objective responsibility. Whereas, the scope of what we do has grown. And it's interesting you brought that up because I was on a call with a guy just this morning talking about bookkeepers and how it's important for them to level up into more financial advice rather than just being a
Mhm.
bookkeeper or just a bookkeeper, but being a bookkeeper leveling up. And I think AI can definitely help there. Well, one last question for you, Ollie. AI, is it hype or help?
I think it's helped.
Hmm.
Yeah. 100%. I think, yeah, I think it's probably, I mean, it's not brand new. So it's sort of like people looking back at it, kind of where it was. I mean, those that were then in the industry building early models and they would sort of see and have a premonition of what we're getting today. But
Yeah.
yeah, for average person, maybe they were looking back at it again, going, "Oh, it's getting this stuff wrong. It's been, and you look at like the evaluations and all this stuff with some of these new companies.
Mm,
Um,
nuts.
you could
Yeah.
say it could have been a hype then, but I mean, for me personally, it's a massive help. Uh,
Mm, mm.
yeah.
Good.
And whether, yeah, whether like we'll just have to see where it goes as well. But I'm pro it for some. I'm pro on some things, but then yeah, not so much on others. So
Mm.
yeah, let's see.
Let's see. All right, Ollie. Thanks very much for being on the show. Really appreciate it. We'll have to have you back sometime soon. Stick around after this because I want to chat to you about Music Fest. All right. Take
Nice.
care.
Thanks, Pete. Thanks for having me on.
Well, that was great talking to Ollie about marketing, and he has some great experiences in lifestyle marketing, in particular, Liquid Death. He talked about how it started just before COVID, and how it essentially came out of some backstage observations that he noticed and that it could take advantage of, and to try and make a cool brand that suited the punk rock or the heavy metal lifestyle, but still served the need in terms of quenching thirst, was a niche that they were able to exploit. So that was interesting, but also we went into how Ollie uses it for his day-to-day activities as a sparring partner, something he can riff off back and forward in order to germinate ideas, to test ideas, to work with. And we all know how good chatbots are at helping us to have a discussion. But he also warned that, an agency walking in to a board meeting when they've got five ideas that are AI generated, it's pretty obvious, and it's easily checked by simply asking the question of an LLM and getting exactly the same answers. And then finally, we talked about whether AI content has a place. And I think we both agreed that when it's entertaining, when it's fun, it can be a genre all of its own. It has a place. When it tries to fool the audience into believing it's a real person, then I think it doesn't have a place. I think we agree with that. So if you want to know more about Ollie and his brand advisory work, please follow the links in the description. If you want to know more about Skillion, please do the same. I hope that helps, and thanks for watching.